The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Kang Wu stepped inside, his black diplomatic uniform crisp and formal. Behind him walked Park Nari, carrying a data tablet filled with information about Earth. Li Te brought up the rear, his engineering badge gleaming under the strange purple lights that filled the enormous room. Kang Wu had dreamed of this moment his entire life. First contact with alien civilizations, he was about to represent all of humanity before the greatest gathering of intelligent species in the galaxy. His heart pounded, but he kept his face calm and professional. The chamber was huge. The ceiling stretched so high that Kang Wu could barely see it through the misty atmosphere. Delegates from 47 different worlds sat in circular rows that spiraled up toward the top. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Kang Wu had trouble understanding what he was seeing. There was a creature made entirely of what looked like living crystal. Its body caught the purple light and threw rainbows across the walls. Next to it sat something that looked like a giant insect, its mandibles clicking rapidly as it communicated with its neighbors. Further up, a being of pure energy floated in a containment field, pulsing with different colors. At the center of it all stood the prime speaker, Velthara. She was one of the crystal beings, but much larger than the others. Her body rose 12 feet into the air, shaped like a beautiful sculpture made of clear diamond. When she spoke, her voice came from speakers placed around the room, translated into perfect English. "Welcome, representatives of the species known as humans," Velthara said. Her crystalline form brightened as she spoke. "We are honored to conduct this first contact ceremony with your people." Kang Wu bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Prime Speaker. Humanity is grateful for this opportunity to join the galactic community." A ripple of what might have been approval ran through the assembled delegates. Different species showed emotion in different ways. Some changed colors, others made sounds. A few simply vibrated. "Before we can consider your species for membership in the Galactic Council," Velthara continued, "we must complete the standard questionnaire. This process helps us understand your people and your world." Park Nari opened her tablet and prepared to take notes. Li Te stood ready to answer any technical questions. This was the moment they had trained for during the long journey from Earth. "First question," Velthara announced. "What is your species population?" "Approximately 8 billion individuals," Kang Wu replied. Several delegates made interested noises. The insectoid being clicked its mandibles faster. "Technological level? We have achieved faster than light travel, nuclear fusion, and basic genetic engineering," Li Te answered. "Primary energy sources?" "Fusion reactors, solar collection, and some remaining fossil fuel usage," Li Te continued. The questions went on for nearly an hour. Most seemed routine. Population distribution, government structure, military capabilities, cultural practices. Kang Wu began to relax. This was going well. The aliens seemed interested but not alarmed by humanity's answers. Then Velthara asked the question that changed everything. "Please describe the primary resources available on your homeworld." Kang Wu thought for a moment. This seemed straightforward enough. "Earth has extensive mineral deposits, including iron, copper, and various rare metals. We have large forests and agricultural areas. Our atmosphere is approximately 21% oxygen and 78% nitrogen. And of course, about 71% of our planet's surface is covered with liquid water." The chamber fell silent. The constant background noise of different species breathing, clicking, humming, and vibrating simply stopped. Even the air recycling system seemed to pause. Kang Wu looked around, confused by the sudden quiet. Velthara's crystalline body dimmed noticeably. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Could you repeat that last part? About the water?" Kang Wu asked. "Yes, Earth has extensive oceans. Liquid water covers most of our planet's surface." The silence stretched longer. Then, all at once, the chamber erupted into chaos. The insectoid delegate began making high-pitched screeching sounds. The energy being's containment field flickered wildly. A slug-like creature near the back began secreting what looked like foam. Delegates throughout the chamber started talking, shouting, and making various alien sounds of distress. Park Nari grabbed Kang Wu's arm. "What's happening?" she whispered. "I don't know," he replied, watching as several delegates actually got up and started moving toward the exits. Velthara raised one crystalline arm. and the chamber's speakers amplified a harmonious tone that gradually restored order. Slowly, the noise died down, though many delegates continued to shift nervously in their seats. "Honored representatives of humanity," Velthara said carefully. "When you say liquid water, do you mean actual H2O in liquid form?" "Yes," Kangwoo replied, still confused. "Water. 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to 1 oxygen atom. It exists as a liquid at normal temperatures on our world." Another wave of distressed sound swept through the chamber. The crystal being next to Velthara actually moved its seat further away from the humans. "And this substance," Velthara continued, her voice sounding strained, "it falls from your sky." "Rain, yes," Parknari answered, stepping forward. "It's part of our weather cycle. Water evaporates from the oceans, forms clouds, and falls back down as precipitation." The foam-secreting slug creature made a sound like a deflating balloon and slumped over. Other delegates began frantically operating what looked like communication devices. "Furthermore," Velthara said, and Kangwoo could swear she sounded like she was barely holding herself together, "do your people have direct contact with this liquid water?" The 3 humans exchanged glances. This was clearly important somehow, but they had no idea why. "Of course," Li Te said. "We drink it, bathe in it, swim in it for recreation. We use it for cooking, cleaning, and agriculture. It's essential for all life on Earth." The chamber exploded into chaos again, but this time it was worse. Half the delegates were now on their feet, heading for the exits. Others were shouting into communication devices in languages the translation system couldn't handle fast enough. The energy being's containment field was flashing so rapidly it looked like a strobe light. Velthara herself had dimmed to barely a glow. When she spoke, her voice was shaking. "Emergency recess," she announced. "All delegates, please report to your ships immediately. This session is suspended pending further analysis." 2 large armored beings that looked like walking tanks approached the humans. They didn't seem threatening, but they were definitely escort-sized. "Honored human representatives," one of them said through a translation device. "Please follow us to guest quarters. You will be comfortable there while the council deliberates." As they were led from the chamber, Kangwoo caught fragments of conversation from the departing delegates. The translation system was struggling with the overlapping voices and alien languages, but certain words came through clearly. "Impossible," said one voice. "Death. World," said another. "Dio." "Legends were true," whispered a third. The humans found themselves in luxurious quarters, with 3 separate bedrooms, a common area, and what appeared to be a food preparation area. Large windows showed the vast space station they were on, with ships from dozens of different civilizations docked at various ports. "What just happened in there?" Parknari asked, setting down her tablet. "I have no idea," Kangwoo replied, loosening his collar. "As soon as we mentioned water, they all went crazy." Li Te was examining the door they had entered through. "I think we might be locked in," he said quietly. "This doesn't look like it opens from the inside." Outside their windows, they could see ships undocking and moving away from the station at unusual speed. Emergency lights were flashing on several of the vessels. "Maybe water is rare out here," Parknari suggested. "Maybe they've never seen a world with liquid water before." But why would that scare them? Kangwoo wondered. They had no way of knowing that across the galaxy emergency broadcasts were already being transmitted. Ships were changing course to avoid the Sol system entirely. Defense fleets were mobilizing around key worlds. The message was simple and terrifying to every species that received it. A new species had been discovered that lived on a planet covered in the most dangerous substance known to galactic civilization. They had somehow not only survived contact with liquid water, but thrived in its presence. Earth had just become classified as a death world, and humanity had become the galaxy's most feared species, all because they had mentioned something as simple as rain. The guest quarters were beautiful, but they felt like a prison. Kangwoo paced back and forth across the main room, while Parknari sat at a table studying her tablet. Li Te stood by the large windows, watching more ships leave the station. "Look at this," Li Te said, pointing outside. "Another 3 ships just undocked. That makes 15 in the last hour." "They're running away from us," Parknari said without looking up from her tablet. "But I can't figure out why mentioning water would cause this reaction." Dr. Kim Hana had joined them an hour ago. She was the team's cultural specialist. Brought from her quarters in another part of the station, she sat in a chair near the wall, reading through every piece of information they had about galactic civilizations. There has to be something in the cultural data. Kim Hana muttered, some reason why water terrifies them. A soft chime sounded and their door slid open. A short green creature walked in, followed by one of the armored guards. The creature looked nervous, constantly shifting from one webbed foot to the other. Its skin was damp and shiny, and it had large, bulging eyes. "Greetings, honored humans," the creature said through a translation device attached to its neck. "I am Glubtar, assigned as your liaison during your stay." "Thank you, Glubtar," Kang Wu said politely. "We're confused about what happened in the council chamber. Can you help us understand?" Glubtar's eyes darted toward the guard, then back to the humans. I am not supposed to discuss council business." "We're not asking for secrets," Park Nari said gently. "We just want to understand why everyone got upset when we mentioned water." The alien's skin changed color slightly, becoming more yellow-green. You really don't know." "Know what?" Kim Hana asked, leaning forward. Glubtar looked at the guard again. The armored being made a gesture that might have been permission. The liaison took a deep breath, which made a wet, gurgling sound. "Liquid water is the most dangerous substance in the known galaxy," Glubtar said quietly. The four humans stared at him in silence. Then Li Te laughed. "Dangerous? Water? You're joking, right?" Glubtar's skin turned bright yellow, which seemed to indicate fear. "No joke, water dissolves everything given enough time. It breaks down the strongest materials. It destroys technology. It kills most forms of life." "But you look like you live in water," Park Nari observed. "You have webbed feet and damp skin." "I live near moisture," Glubtar corrected quickly. "Very little moisture. My homeworld has humid air, but no liquid water. If I touched actual liquid water, it would burn through my skin in seconds." Kim Hana pulled out her tablet and showed Glubtar a picture of Earth's oceans. "This is what our planet looks like from space. All those blue areas are water." Glubtar made a choking sound and stepped backward. That can't be real. Nothing could survive on a world like that." "We don't just survive," Kang Wu said. "We need water to live. Watch this." He walked to the food preparation area and found what looked like a water dispenser. He filled a clear container with liquid and drank it. Glubtar screamed and fell over. The guard rushed forward but stopped when he saw that Kang Wu was fine. He helped Glubtar back to his feet. "How are you not dead?" Glubtar whispered, staring at Kang Wu like he had just swallowed acid. "It's just water," Kang Wu said, confused. "We drink about 2 liters of it every day." 2 liters, Glubtar repeated weakly. "Every day. Sometimes more if it's hot," Li Te added helpfully. Glubtar sat down heavily in a chair. His skin was now a pale, sickly color. "Tell us about water in the galaxy," Kim Hana said. "Why do you think it's dangerous?" Glubtar was quiet for a long moment. Then he began to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "Every civilization learns about water early in their scientific development. We call it the universal solvent. Given enough time, it dissolves almost everything. Metal, stone, crystal, organic compounds. It seeps into the smallest cracks and breaks things apart from the inside. But that's what makes it useful," Park Nari said. "Water helps break down food in our bodies so we can digest it. It carries nutrients to our cells. The Veltherin crystals shatter if they touch liquid water." Glubtar continued as if he hadn't heard her. "The metal-based Corvin people corrode and die. The energy beings lose their form completely." "What about you?" Li Te asked. "What does water do to your species?" "It burns," Glubtar said simply. "Like your people might react to a strong acid." The humans exchanged looks. This was starting to make sense in a horrible way. "So when we said our planet was covered in water," Kang Wu said slowly, "they thought we were saying we lived on a world covered in acid." "Worse than acid," Glubtar corrected. "Acid only destroys certain things. Water destroys everything eventually." Kim Hana pulled up more pictures on her tablet. Images of Earth's weather showing rain clouds and storms. "This happens on our world regularly. Water falls from the sky." Glubtar made another choking sound. "Water falls from the sky? Like a weapon?" "Like rain," Park Nari said. "It waters our plants and fills our rivers. Children play in it. Children." Glubtar's voice cracked. "You let your young ones touch liquid water?" "They love it," Li Te said, smiling at the memory. "In summer, kids run through sprinklers and splash in pools." The liaison was shaking now. "I need to report this," he muttered. "The council needs to know exactly how dangerous your species is." "We're not dangerous," Kang Wu protested. "We're peaceful. We came here seeking friendship." You swim in universal solvent for fun, Glubtar said, his eyes wide with horror. You let it fall on you from the sky. You put it inside your bodies every day. Do you understand what this means to the rest of the galaxy? Before any of the humans could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside their quarters. The guard at their door received some kind of communication through his helmet and stepped inside. Emergency protocols activated, the guard announced. All ships are ordered to maintain minimum safe distance from the Sol system. Sol system? Kim Hana asked. That's our solar system. Glubtar nodded weakly. The Council is classifying your homeworld as a death world. Ships are being warned to stay away. Death world? Park Nari repeated. A planet so dangerous that no civilized species should go near it, the guard explained. We have procedures for this. It's happened before, though rarely. What kind of worlds get classified as death worlds? Lite asked. Worlds with extreme radiation, Glubtar said, counting on his webbed fingers. Worlds with poisonous atmospheres. Worlds where the gravity crushes most life forms. Worlds covered in lava or acid or... He stopped and looked at them with new understanding. Worlds covered in universal solvent. The alarms continued to blare. Through the windows, they could see the last few ships leaving the station. Soon the humans would be alone with just the station's emergency crew. There's something else, Glubtar said quietly. Something from the old records that the Council is probably remembering right now. What? Kim Hana asked. The legends speak of an ancient race called the Architects. They used water as a weapon. They could make it appear on any world, turning paradise planets into death worlds. Whole civilizations fled before them. What happened to these architects? Kang Wu asked. Glubtar's skin turned almost white. They vanished thousands of years ago. No one knows where they went. He paused, staring at the humans with growing fear. Until now. Outside their window, the last ship undocked from the station and accelerated away into the darkness of space. Emergency broadcasts were spreading across the galaxy, warning all ships to avoid the Sol system at all costs. Earth had just become the most feared location in the known universe, and humanity had become the inheritors of the galaxy's most terrifying legacy, all because they had mentioned something as simple as drinking water. The humans stood in their luxurious prison, finally beginning to understand that their normal, everyday relationship with water made them appear to be the most dangerous beings the galaxy had ever encountered. And somewhere in the depths of space, ancient defense systems that had been dormant for millennia began to activate, responding to the return of the species that had once terrorized entire star systems, with nothing more than rain. The next morning, the humans woke to find their quarters surrounded by armed guards. Not the polite escorts from before, but serious-looking soldiers from different species. Some wore full armor. Others had energy shields flickering around their bodies. All of them kept their distance from the human delegation. Admiral Song Q had arrived during the night on an emergency transport from Earth. He was a tall, stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He wore his naval uniform with pride, even though he had never expected to need it for first contact with aliens. They're treating us like we're radioactive, Song Q said, looking out the window at the guards. What exactly did you tell them? We told them the truth, Kang Wu replied. That Earth has water on it. Song Q raised an eyebrow. Water, that's what has them so scared? Dr. Kim Hana explained everything Glubtar had told them the day before. As she spoke, Song Q's expression grew more serious. So they think we're some kind of monsters because we drink water? He asked. Apparently, Park Nari said. To them, we might as well be swimming in acid every day. A chime sounded and their door opened. This time, instead of Glubtar, a much larger alien entered. It looked like a walking suit of metal armor, but the humans could tell it was actually the creature's skin. Steam rose from vents in its shoulders. I am Commander Thex of the Corvin Hegemony, the being said through speakers in its chest. I have been assigned to conduct a full interrogation of your species. Interrogation? Song Q stepped forward. We came here for peaceful first contact, not to be questioned like prisoners. Your species represents a potential threat to galactic civilization, Commander Thex replied. We must understand exactly what we are dealing with. Behind Commander Thex, a strange device floated into the room. It looked like a metal ball covered in sensors and cameras. The humans could hear it humming with power. This session will be recorded and transmitted to all council members, Thex announced. They are participating remotely for their own safety. Safety from what? Lite asked. We haven't threatened anyone. Your very existence is a threat, Thex said. Please state your species' exact relationship with the substance you call water. The humans looked at each other. This was getting more serious than they had expected. Humans need water to survive, Kang Wu said carefully. Our bodies are approximately 60% water by weight. The recording device made a series of sharp beeping sounds. Commander Thex took a step backward. 60%, Thex repeated. You are saying that more than half of your body mass consists of universal solvent? It's not a solvent to us, Park Nari explained. It's just water. It helps our bodies function. Impossible, Thex said. No organic life form can contain that much water and remain stable. Would you like us to prove it? Song Q asked with a slight smile. No, Thex shouted, raising both metal hands. Do not demonstrate anything involving water in my presence. The recording device transmitted the conversation across space to dozens of ships and stations. On each vessel, alien scientists and military officers watched in growing horror as the humans described their relationship with the galaxy's most feared substance. Tell us about your planet's weather patterns, Thex continued. Dr. Kim Hana pulled out her tablet and showed images of Earth's clouds and storms. Water evaporates from our oceans, forms clouds in the atmosphere, and falls back down as rain. Rain, Thex repeated slowly. Water falls from your sky? Yes, regularly, Kim Hana said. It's essential for our ecosystem. How often does this rain occur? It depends on the region, Li Tay answered. Some areas get rain almost every day, others only during certain seasons. The recording device was beeping frantically now. Through its sensors, the hidden council members were learning that Earth's weather was essentially a planet-wide water weapon that activated regularly. What do your people do when this rain occurs? Thex asked, and the humans could hear strain in his mechanical voice. We go outside and enjoy it, Park Nari said with a smile. Children love to play in the rain. Play, Thex repeated, in falling universal solvent. Some people dance in the rain, Song Q added. It's considered romantic. The beeping from the recording device became so intense that Commander Thex had to adjust his audio systems. Across the galaxy, alien leaders were trying to process the idea that humans not only survived contact with falling water, but actually enjoyed it. Let me ask you a different question, Thex said, clearly trying to regain control of the interrogation. Does your species use water for any practical purposes? Of course, Kang Wu said. We use it for drinking, cooking, cleaning, agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, and recreation. Transportation? Thex's voice cracked slightly. Ships, Song Q explained. We've been sailing across our oceans for thousands of years. We also swim underwater for research and recreation. You travel on the surface of liquid water? And under it, Li Tay added helpfully. We have submarines that can dive to the deepest parts of our oceans. Commander Thex was now shaking visibly. Steam poured from his vents as his internal systems tried to cool his rising panic. Underwater, he whispered. You go underwater voluntarily. It's beautiful down there, Park Nari said, pulling up images on her tablet. Coral reefs, fish, underwater mountains. The recording device suddenly made a loud shrieking sound and stopped beeping entirely. Several of the remote observers had apparently disconnected from the transmission rather than continue listening. This is impossible, Thex said, backing toward the door. No species could evolve such resistance to universal solvent. What's the big deal? Song Q asked. It's just water. Just water? Thex exploded. Water dissolves our metal skin. It corrodes our technology. One drop of liquid water can kill a Corvin in minutes. The humans stared at him in shock. They were finally starting to understand just how different they were from the rest of the galaxy. To the Veltharan crystals, water is like concentrated acid, Thex continued, his voice rising with each word. To the energy beings, it disrupts their quantum structure. To most organic species, it burns through tissue like molten metal. But it doesn't hurt us, Kim Hana said quietly. That's what makes you so terrifying, Thex replied. You have somehow evolved to not only resist the galaxy's most dangerous substance, but to thrive in its presence. You are either the most advanced species ever discovered or what? Kang Wu asked. Or you are the descendants of the architects. The room fell silent. Even the humans had heard the legends that Glubtar had mentioned. The architects used water to terraform worlds, Thex continued, his voice now barely above a whisper. They could turn any planet into a death world by introducing liquid water. Entire civilizations fled before them. But those are just legends, Parknari protested. Are they? Thex asked. Your species lives on a world covered in water. You have complete mastery over the substance that destroyed the architect's enemies. You describe techniques that sound exactly like the ancient accounts of their terraforming methods. Through the windows, they could see more ships arriving at the station, but these weren't council vessels. They were military ships, dark and menacing, taking positions around the station. The council has made a decision, Thex announced. Until we can determine whether humanity represents an evolutionary miracle or the return of the galaxy's greatest threat, Earth will remain under quarantine. Quarantine? Song Q demanded. No ship will be allowed to approach your solar system, Thex explained. And no human will be allowed to leave this station until we understand exactly what you are. The recording device suddenly reactivated, and a new voice spoke through its speakers. It was Velthera, the council's prime speaker. Humanity, she said, her crystal voice carrying across space to reach them. You have presented us with an impossible situation. Your species should not exist, yet here you are. You claim to be peaceful, yet you possess mastery over the most destructive force in the universe. We just want to be friends, Kang Wu said to the device. That may be true, Velthara replied, but the galaxy has learned to fear water for good reasons. Until we know whether you are our salvation or our doom, you will remain isolated. The transmission ended, leaving the humans alone with Commander Thex and the growing fleet of warships outside their window. They had come to the stars seeking friendship and found themselves cast as either gods or monsters, all because they had evolved on a world where it rained. 3 days had passed since the interrogation. The humans were still trapped in their quarters, watching more warships arrive outside their window every hour. The military fleet surrounding the station now included vessels from dozens of different species, all keeping their weapons trained on the small human delegation. Zhang Hie had arrived on the last transport before the quarantine was fully established. She was Earth's best historical officer, brought to help understand the growing crisis. She sat at a table covered with data tablets, reading through thousands of years of galactic history that the Council had finally agreed to share. This is incredible, Zhang Hai said, looking up from her research. The water wars weren't just legends. They really happened. Admiral Song Q sat across from her, cleaning his service weapon out of habit. Tell us what you found. According to these records, the architects appeared about 12,000 years ago, Zhang Hie began. They started in the outer rim of the galaxy, terraforming dead worlds by introducing massive amounts of liquid water. That doesn't sound evil, Parknari said. Terraforming helps create new homes for people. That's what everyone thought at first, Zhang He continued. The early records show that many species welcomed the architects. They were creating garden worlds where nothing had lived before. So what went wrong? Li Te asked. Zhang He pulled up an ancient star map on her tablet. Large sections of it were marked in red. The architects got more aggressive. They started targeting inhabited worlds, claiming they were improving them by adding water. But that would kill everyone already living there, Dr. Kim Hana realized. Exactly. Entire civilizations had to evacuate their homeworlds when the architects decided to terraform them. The water would dissolve their cities, poison their atmosphere, and make the planets unlivable for the original inhabitants. Song Q stopped cleaning his weapon. How many worlds did they destroy? Over 3,000 confirmed, Zhang He replied grimly. Billions of beings died or became refugees. The architects claimed they were bringing life to the galaxy, but to everyone else, they were bringing death. A soft chime interrupted them. Dr. Xin Yu had finally been granted access to the Council's geological database. She was Earth's top geologist, and she had been studying something that worried her deeply. I've been looking at the geological surveys of Earth, Xin Yu said, joining the group at the table, comparing them to the records of worlds the architects terraformed. What did you find? Kang Wu asked. Xin Yu's face was pale. The patterns match perfectly. Earth shows clear evidence of massive water introduction about 10,000 years ago. The geological layers, the mineral deposits, the way our oceans are distributed, it all points to artificial terraforming. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You're saying the architects terraformed Earth? Song Q asked quietly. I'm saying someone did, Xin Yu replied. And based on these records, the architects were the only species in galactic history with that capability. But what happened to the original inhabitants? Park Nari wondered. Maybe there weren't any. Li Tay suggested. Maybe Earth was a dead world when they found it. Or maybe, Kim Hana said slowly, we are the descendants of the original inhabitants. Maybe humans learned to adapt to the water instead of dying from it. Jiang He pulled up more records. Look at this. The architects disappeared suddenly about 8,000 years ago. No one knows why. They just stopped terraforming worlds and vanished completely. That's about the time human civilization started developing on Earth, Xin Yu noted, according to our archaeological records. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The lights in their quarters switched to emergency red, and they could hear running footsteps in the corridors outside. Captain Bei soon burst into their quarters, escorted by 2 guards. She was the team's communications officer, and she looked terrified. We're receiving messages, Bei soon said breathlessly. Encrypted transmissions from across the galaxy. What kind of messages? Song Q demanded. Rebel groups, resistance movements, oppressed species, Bei soon replied. They all want the same thing. They want humanity's help. She activated a portable communication device and played back several messages. The voices were translated into English, but the desperation was clear in every language. Great water wielders, said the first message. Our people have suffered under the hegemony for centuries. We beg you to bring your power to our world and free us. Masters of the universal solvent, said another. The crystal overlords have enslaved our species for generations. Please use your terrible weapons to destroy their cities. Children of the architects, said a third. Return to us and finish what your ancestors started. Make the galaxy clean again. Song Q turned off the device. They think we're weapons. They think we're the architects, Kim Hana corrected. Or at least their descendants, are we? Park Nari asked quietly. Nobody had an answer. The alarm stopped blaring, but the red lights remained. Through their windows, they could see the warships repositioning themselves into attack formations. Something was happening. Commander Thex entered their quarters again, but this time he was accompanied by what looked like a floating brain in a jar. The brain pulsed with different colors as it communicated through speakers mounted on its hovering platform. I am Cerebrex, Chief Analyst for the Galactic Council, the brain announced. We have completed our analysis of your species. And? Kang Wu asked. The evidence is overwhelming, Cerebrex continued, its brain matter shifting to a dark purple color. Geological surveys confirm that Earth was artificially terraformed. Genetic analysis shows that human DNA contains markers consistent with rapid evolutionary adaptation. Historical records indicate that the architects vanished at exactly the time human civilization began. So we are their descendants, Zhang Hai said. More than that, Cerebrex replied, turning bright red. Based on your species' capabilities and the testimony we have gathered, we believe humans are the architects. You didn't descend from them. You are them. The humans stared at the floating brain in shock. That's impossible, Song Q protested. We don't remember being the architects. We don't have their technology. Memory can be erased, Commander Thex said. Technology can be hidden or forgotten, but genetic programming cannot be changed. Your species has an instinctive mastery of water that no other beings in the galaxy possess. We had to know, Cerebrex added. We had to test your true nature. Outside their window, one of the larger warships was moving closer to the station. But as the humans watched, something strange began happening to its hull. Steam was rising from its metal surface. What's that ship doing? Li Tay asked. Commander Thex's mechanical voice carried a note of fear. It's not doing anything. That's the problem. The steam was getting thicker. As they watched, sections of the warship's armor began to buckle and collapse. Other ships in the fleet started moving away from it frantically. The ship is dissolving, Cerebrex explained, its brain matter now flashing between different colors rapidly. Someone sabotaged its atmospheric systems and introduced water vapor into its hull. We didn't do that, Kang Wu said quickly. We know you didn't, Thex replied. Your rebel admirers did. They're using water as a weapon. Just like the ancient architects, they learned from watching you. More ships in the fleet were beginning to show signs of damage. Somewhere in the galaxy, the oppressed species had found a new weapon in humanity's example. They were using water vapor, humidity, even condensation to attack their enemies. This is what the Council feared most, Cerebrex said. Not that you would attack us directly, but that you would inspire others to use water as we feared the architects once did. What happens now? Parknari asked. Before anyone could answer, another alarm began blaring. This one was different, more urgent. Through the station's communication system, they heard Velthara's crystal voice. Emergency. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. The Sol system shows signs of unusual activity. On their communication device, Captain Bei Soon was receiving new transmissions from Earth. Her face went white as she listened. What is it? Song Q demanded. Earth's defense systems, Bei Soon whispered. Systems we didn't know existed. They're activating automatically. Through their window, they could see the stars changing. New objects were appearing in space around Earth's solar system. Ancient machines hidden for thousands of years were coming online in response to the threat to their creators. The architects' true legacy was finally awakening, and humanity was about to learn exactly what they really were. The space around Earth's solar system was changing. Ancient machines hidden for thousands of years in asteroid fields and behind moons were coming online. They moved through space like sleeping giants awakening, their hulls covered in what looked like ice but was actually frozen water, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. Fleet Admiral Oh Seung had arrived from Earth with humanity's response fleet just hours before. Unlike the sleek angular ships of the galactic species, human vessels looked organic, curved like sea creatures. Water flowed through transparent tubes along their hulls and steam vented from their engines. To the alien fleets, they looked like ships designed in hell. In the station's command center, the human delegation watched the situation unfold on massive screens. The galactic fleet was in chaos. Ships were breaking formation as their crews panicked at the sight of vessels that used water as both fuel and weapon. Admiral Oh Seung is requesting permission to address the Galactic Council, Captain Bei Soon reported, monitoring the communications. Permission granted, came Velthara's crystal voice through the speakers, though it sounded strained. All council members will participate remotely for safety. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Oh Seung on the bridge of his flagship. Behind him, the humans could see crew members working calmly at stations where water cascaded down the walls like decorative waterfalls. To any alien watching, it looked like the crew was working inside a liquid death trap. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Oh Seung began, his voice calm and professional. I am Fleet Admiral Oh Seung of the Earth Defense Force. I come with a message from humanity. Stay back. Commander Thex shouted from somewhere off-screen. Your ships are leaking universal solvent. That's not leaking, Oh Seung replied with a slight smile. That's our cooling system. Our ships are designed to work with water, not against it. On screens throughout the galaxy, alien leaders watched in horror as the human admiral casually reached over and drank from a glass of water while speaking to them. Several disconnected their transmissions immediately. We understand there has been some confusion about our species. Oh Seung continued. Yes, we live on a world covered in water. Yes, our bodies need water to survive. But we are not the monsters you think we are. You are the architects. Cerebrex's voice crackled through the speakers. The evidence is clear. We are their children, Oh Seung corrected. But not in the way you think. The Admiral gestured and the screen split to show Dr. Park Min, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist. She stood in what looked like an underground chamber filled with ancient technology and flowing water. We found this facility under the Pacific Ocean 3 days ago, Park Min explained. It activated when the Galactic Fleet took aggressive positions near Earth. The chamber contains the real history of the architects. She moved through the chamber, showing alien writing on the walls and machines that hummed with power. Water flowed through everything, but instead of destroying the technology, it seemed to power it. The architects were not conquerors, Park Min continued. They were gardeners. They found dead worlds and brought them to life using the one substance that could nurture everything. Water. But they destroyed civilizations. Thex protested through the communication system. They tried to save civilizations, Park Min corrected, stopping in front of a large crystal display. Look at this. The display showed star maps from thousands of years ago. The humans could see the galaxy during the time of the architects, but it looked different. Where thriving civilizations existed now, the map showed dying worlds with poisoned atmospheres and failing ecosystems. The galaxy was dying, Park Min explained. Solar radiation, Asteroid impacts and industrial pollution had made most worlds unlivable. The architects tried to use water to clean the atmospheres and restore the ecosystems. But water kills us, came a voice from one of the watching species. Water kills you now, Park Min agreed. But according to these records, it didn't always. Something changed in your evolution. You became afraid of the very substance that once sustained all life. The display changed, showing genetic charts and evolutionary trees. The data was complex, but the conclusion was clear. The architects didn't disappear, Park Min announced. They retreated to one world to continue their work. They spent thousands of years learning how to help species adapt to water, instead of forcing water onto species that couldn't handle it. Earth, whispered Velthara through the speakers. Earth, Park Min confirmed. We are not the original architects. We are their greatest creation. A species designed to live in harmony with water, to show the galaxy that it doesn't have to be feared. Admiral Oh Shung took control of the transmission again. This is why we came to you peacefully. We didn't come to conquer or destroy. We came to offer help. Help? Thex sounded suspicious. We have spent 10,000 years perfecting water purification, atmospheric cleaning, and ecosystem restoration, Oh Shung explained. We can teach other species how to use water safely. We can help restore worlds that have been damaged by pollution or war. On the screens, they could see the alien leaders discussing frantically among themselves. Some species seemed interested, while others remained fearful. We offer proof of our intentions, Oh Sung announced. The display changed to show a barren, lifeless world at the edge of the galaxy. It was Corvex Prime, the original homeworld of Commander Thex's people, abandoned centuries ago when industrial pollution made it unlivable. With the Council's permission, Oh Sung said, we would like to demonstrate our abilities on this dead world. Corvex Prime has been lifeless for 800 years, Thex said, his mechanical voice filled with pain. Nothing can restore it now. Let us try, Oh Shung offered. If we fail, you lose nothing. If we succeed, you gain hope. The Council deliberated for hours while the fleets maintained their tense standoff. Finally, Velthara's voice returned to the speakers. The Council grants permission for this demonstration, but humanity will be monitored closely. What followed was the greatest terraforming project the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. Human ships descended on Corvex Prime, their water-based systems working to clean the poisoned atmosphere. They introduced carefully controlled amounts of water vapor, neutralizing the toxic compounds that had made the world unlivable. Within days, the dead world began to change. The sky cleared. The soil began to support plant life. Water that had once been poison became the foundation for new ecosystems. Commander Thex was among the first to visit the restored world. He stood on ground that his ancestors had walked, breathing air that was clean for the first time in centuries. When he spoke to the Council, his voice carried wonder instead of fear. They have given us back our homeworld, he announced. The humans, they have given us back our past. One by one, other species began to approach humanity for help. The Veltharan crystals, who had lived in fear of water for millennia, learned that in tiny, controlled amounts it could actually enhance their crystalline structure. The energy beings discovered that water vapor could help stabilize their quantum matrices instead of disrupting them. A year later, Ambassador Kang Wu stood in the same council chamber where humanity's journey had begun. But this time the chamber was different. Small fountains had been installed throughout the room, their gentle flows no longer symbols of terror but of hope and renewal. The galaxy has learned an important lesson, Kang Wu addressed the assembled delegates. What seems impossible to some is simply everyday life to others. What appears to be a weapon can actually be a tool of creation. He gestured to the fountains around the chamber. Water is not the universal destroyer. It is the universal creator, and humanity is here to help you remember that. In the months that followed, dozens of worlds requested human assistance with terraforming and ecosystem restoration. The ancient fear of water began to fade as species learned to work with it instead of against it. The galaxy had gained more than just new members in humanity. They had gained teachers, gardeners, and healers who could help restore worlds that had been given up for dead. And in the depths of space, the ancient machines of the architects powered down and returned to their long sleep, their purpose finally fulfilled. Their children had found their place among the stars not as conquerors, but as the galaxy's caretakers. The universe was a little less afraid and a lot more hopeful. because someone had simply mentioned that their planet had water on it.